Hey Lana, welcome back to my channel. We know that at the time of India's independence, India was an agricultural dependent economy. And yet, the state of Indian agricultural sector was dismal. From of a lack of investment, low level of technology, low yield per acre, etc. And so, the government of India took steps to bring about the Green Revolution using HYV seeds. Let us know about that. In a simple way, the Green Revolution started in 1965 with the first introducing of high yield variety seeds or HYV seeds in Indian agriculture. This was coupled with a better and efficient irrigation and the correct use of the fertilizers to boost the crop. Norman Borlaug is the father of Green Revolution in the world, was able to create a hybrid wheat plant that could not only resist fungus and disease but have high yields as well. But in case of India, father of India's Green Revolution is M.S. Swaminathan. He started Green Revolution in India, and Swaminathan has been described by the United Nations Environment Programs about the Green Revolution, a program under which the high yield varieties of wheat and rice were planted. So, most elaborately, we must say that the Green Revolution was a period when the productivity of global agriculture increased drastically as a result of new advance. During this time of the period, new chemical fertilizers and pesticides were created. The chemical fertilizers made it possible to supply crops with extra nutrients and therefore increase yieldings. We know that food is the most basic requirement for sustaining every kind of living creatures on this earth, as well as a human being too. Man obtains their food from cultivated plants and domesticated animals also. So, around 95% of the human population's protein demand are met from agricultural crops, animal husbandry and fishing also. India is a self-sufficient in food production. This is only because of modern pattern of agriculture. Then Green Revolution in 1966 is one of important era in case of the Indian history. So, let us cover up the most notable features of the Green Revolution in India. These are as follows. The first, we know about the early that introduction of a new and high yielding variety of seeds, HYV seeds. Next, increased use of the fertilizers, pesticides and weedicides in order to reduce agricultural losses. And then improve the application of the fertilizers in order to enhance agricultural productivity, use of the latest agricultural machinery like tractors, seed drills, harvesters, etc., and use of the high disease resistance varieties so that production will enhance. So, therefore, the main things come up that high yielding seeds. These seeds are actually of the better quality than a normal quality seeds. So, the main thing is that what is the high yielding seeds that used in a green revolution? It is a healthy and surplus crop and have good immune systems to fight. Actually, in Mexico, Professor Norman Borlaug, the father of a green revolution, and his associates developed new varieties of wheat which were early maturing, highly productive and disease resistant during the mid 1960s, and these varieties were imported and planted in selected regions of India having adequate irrigation facilities. So, HYV seeds are main thing that used in green revolution because these are genetically enhanced seeds, increase growth speed, to increase crop yield, resistant to disease, expensive, etc. The example of these types of seeds are maize seeds, rice, wheat, etc. So, high yielding varieties of wheat depends crucially on the availability of the fertilizers, adequate water supply, pesticides and insecticides. Therefore, Government of India launched the packages of the program in Green Revolution. But there are certain problems arises that if we use lots of chemical fertilizers, that sometimes later the soil becomes unusable. And also if a heavy amount of the chemical fertilizers, pesticides and water is used, then the cost of the farming will also increase. The poor farmers are unable to buy the HYV seeds, so HYV seeds of no use of them. And another thing we must say that the most of the farmers in India are very poor. They are not a rich farmer and own very small place of land. So they cannot afford to high purchasing for their farming. So therefore, despite this initial prosperity and experienced in Punjab and Haryana, the Green Revolution was met with much controversy throughout India. So we say that there are some limitations about green revolution, just like it created a lack of biodiversity in global cropland structures. Like the spread of the agricultural practices of the green revolution may have helped to reduce hunger issues in developing countries, but it also created a significant deficit in agrodiversity while biodiversity around the globe. And the second is it can be wiped out with one devastating disease. So the green revolution uses a handful of the selected crops. Due to their performance, farmers are growing them after year to maintain their profit margins. That means one devastating disease that has resistance to a blight could wipe out the entire food supply for multiple crops in multiple regions. The third is it reduces the quality of the soil used for the growing crops. We earlier say about using HYV seeds and use lots of chemical fertilizers, that sometimes later the soil becomes obviously unusable. The next is it requires the use of the non-sustainable agricultural method. Almost all the high intensity agricultural production that occurs using green revolution technologies and concepts requires non-renewable resources to generate results. People obviously must use agricultural machinery to maintain their fields to achieve higher yields. There is a necessary for transport logistics within this industry as well. Pesticides and nitrates are mandatory components of the growing process. Fifth, this creates a health impacts that we must consider with their practices, and several concerns such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, leukemia, certain breast and ovarian cancers are linked with this use of the pesticides as well. And it has advanced beyond our current distribution networks. Over 1.3 billion pounds of food are lost in some way each year, and root crops are the worst offenders. Another disadvantage of the green revolution is it encourages more resistance to pests and chemicals and other hazards. We have benefited from the growing practices of the green revolution over 5 decades, but that time may be drawn to close. Plants are growing a resistance to the various herbicides that we use to control their growth. So that's a very bad things for the green revolution. And it can encourage seed sterility also. It may not produce enough results to create profitable outcome and etc. And there are many disadvantages. Though we must say that the technological innovation of the green revolution replaced one way of life in another in a short span of 2 decades. The lesson we learned from the green revolution should enable policy makers to reduce the adverse effects of the coming biorevolution based on a genetic energy engineering. So I think we must conclude here, and in I must say that in that's all for today, and please like and subscribe, and please share my video if you like it. And thank you so much, and have a good day.